The graveyard breathed under a steady moon, stones arranged like old books and shadows like pages turning. In the center, an ash-gray elder elephant moved with the slow certainty of someone who had read these pages before, an old mentor whose scarf had seen colder winters. The elder murmured, "I can feel the town resetting tonight, like a restless tide." From here the story slips toward a group gathered by the oldest ewe. 5 cyan elephants arrived together, bright against the cold stones, each carrying a shard of personality that fit into the other's worn trunk. Introductions came quickly: a curious planner, a soft healer, a pragmatic tinkerer, a compassionate listener, and a nervous prankster. Their colors shimmered like pooled sea glass beneath the moon. "We should map the Isles tonight and leave a banner," said the curious planner. They shifted, making a small semicircle as they prepared for the odd supermarket at the edge of town. Across a low stone wall, a single champagne-colored elephant watched with the cool patience of someone used to buying influence. He moved with a quiet, corporate grace, an outsider with a plan and an appetite for control. "Power tastes like something you can place on a shelf," he said, smiling as if the moon approved. The circle tightened. None of the Cyan 5 trusted that sort of shine. At the edge of the graveyard, a supermarket stood like a secret. Every morning its aisles had rearranged themselves as if someone were resorting the world. The elephants had long suspected those nightly shuffles were a form of protest, anti-war placards tucked between cereal boxes and empty shelves left where weapons might be listed. "The stores rearrange like people rearrange thoughts," observed the healer, leaving messages where numbers once sat. The pattern suggested more than mischief, it suggested a purpose threaded through signs and soup cans. The champagne elephant had a scheme for gaining control of that nightly dance. If currency and convenience could be replaced by candy-colored spectacle, he thought, he could steer what people noticed and forgot. His plan: swap every ATM in town with a gumball machine, an absurd replacement that would make choices seem trivial, turning civic muscle into candy. "If every ATM spat out gumballs, people will laugh until they don't notice what else disappeared," he said, his voice like coins clinking in a jar. The Cyan 5 exchanged worried looks. An absurd plan can be dangerous if it distracts the crowd from necessary talk. At night the supermarket rearranged itself again, shelves sliding into new alignments, labels exchanged, aisles folding like paper. The rearrangements were part art, part manifesto, a silent anti-war chorus that left townsfolk confused and sometimes moved. But confusion breeds openings for those who love to steer it. "We must follow the pattern precisely," urged the tinkerer. "Someone is sending a message in the order of the cans." The rearrangement became less a curiosity and more a battleground of attention. Tension thinned into argument when the question of dogs entered the circle. Did dogs secretly vote in the town? One of the Cyan 5 believed every creature had a ballot in their bones, another scoffed, pointing to the weight of paperwork and doors that never opened for pause. "Dogs absolutely have opinions," said the compassionate listener. They argued themselves into silence, the rift as small as a twig but stubborn enough to catch the moon's attention. A brief, playful pause from the narrator: "If you like these moonlit misadventures, please like and subscribe. And if you enjoy odd words, comment slop below, it's our little signal in the Isles." "Do like, subscribe, and comment slop now," encouraged a sudden cheerful voice. Back on the stones, the argument cooled like embers before a storm. Night fell and the champagne elephant moved with his team like a quiet parade. At first it was small trades, one ATM gone, a bright gumball contraption installed where people expected numbers and receipts. The town woke with coins missing and colorful plastic balls on sidewalks. "It will be harder to bank on attention when the town is laughing," he said, watching morning faces stretch and stare at candy falling where transactions should be. The law of small disruptions had begun to bend the town's sense of what mattered. The Cyan 5 tried to restore order. They slipped inside after dusk with crowbars of old jokes and banners stitched from quiet conversations. But the supermarket, clever and changing, resisted and reconfigured, making their maps useless and their banners misplaced in new aisles. "We can pin a guide to the floor and follow it," urged the planner, but the aisles rearranged like currents. They left bruised with good intentions, the night closing over another unsolved puzzle. The argument about dogs flared again, louder now that frustration had pooled. Two of the Cyan Five traded sharper words, each convinced that their view, either that dogs quietly determined outcomes or that they did not, would change the strategy. "If dogs vote, then we must listen differently," snapped one of them. The quarrel widened, a small fissure threatening to split the group precisely when they needed cohesion most. Nearby, unseen by them, a human Italian pizza chef tossed pizza dough into the air under a flickering marquee, a brief, incongruous ballet ignored by all present. The moon watched as alliances shifted. The elder mentor, who had seemed a steady guide, stepped from the shadows and revealed the truth. He had been tipping Isles toward one narrative, quietly steering the protest so it would fracture and feed a single voice. The champagne elephant seized the advantage, eyes reflecting a hard, hungry light. "So you were the hand rearranging the pieces," the planner breathed, the trust in his voice breaking like thin glass. With the mentor's betrayal uncovered, the champagne elephant's influence swelled and the supermarket's nightly chaos felt suddenly sharper. They searched the mentor's gestures for a weakness and found something almost silly. He froze around empty chairs. The sight of a vacant seat made his trunk tremble and his eyes dart. It was a small fissure in a world of large deceptions, and small fissures can crack foundations. "Put an empty chair in the center and watch him flinch," suggested the tinkerer softly. They grinned at the simplicity. Sometimes the softest lever undoes the heaviest hinge. They set the chair and watched the mentor unravel. Paranoia at a vacancy made him expose the plots he had hidden. The champagne elephant, cut off from the mentor's quiet nudges, faltered. Townsfolk came, eyes clearing, and the gumball ATMs lost their novelty when people remembered what a bank is for. "This ends now," said the pragmatic tinkerer, placing a hand on the champagne elephant's shoulder until he backed away. In a brittle, quiet chorus, the town took back the Isles and the laughter thinned into something like resolve. Once the mentor's influence was undone and the champagne elephant humbled, the supermarket calmed. Instead of nightly rearrangements that bewildered neighbors, the store became a place for community notice boards, peace tables, and rotating displays curated by the five Cyan elephants and their neighbors. The anti-war messages remained, but now they were tended rather than hidden. "We'll keep the Isles open for questions and keep a banner for those who can't speak loudly," said the compassionate listener. The supermarket settled into a new rhythm where arrangement meant conversation, not cryptic command. Home again in the graveyard, the five sat beneath the yew and revisited the old question of dogs and ballots. The quarrel that once threatened them now felt smaller, like an old bruise softened by time and honest work. They agreed to disagree, but with new patience and a ritual. Each month they'd leave a bowl by the door in case a dog ever wanted to leave a token. "Maybe dogs vote in ways we don't measure," offered the compassionate listener, smiling. They laughed, not to erase past sharpness but to honor how much quieter the moon felt with friends stitched back together. A short, clear note to close: all slop in this story were generated using AI. This is a simple disclaimer to share how some of the oddities and textures came to be, not an instruction manual or boast, just transparency for curious ears. That was the truth, spoken plainly at the end. The moon rolled on, the elephants settled, and the story folded into the soft hush of the graveyard night.